Welcome to Shadow of Truth, and today is Monday, June the 13th, 2016, and your hosts are Dave Kranzler from InvestmentResearchDynamics.com and Rory Hall from thedailycoin.org, and this is just a quick market update, and we certainly appreciate everybody being here. I wrote it is because I'm not assuming that everybody that comes to my website knows and understands false flags. Most of the people that I'm trying to attract are the people that are on the fringe, that are the ones that, you and I have discussed this before, the ones that are laying awake at night with questions that they don't know what the question is, much less what the answer to the question is. So this was penned in a way to provide them with questions to ask, with the questions that point them in a particular direction, and that direction is towards an understanding of false flags. There's going to be plenty of analysis that show that that it was a false flag, and there's going to be plenty of that information out there. I'm trying to reach the people, as I've said before, people like my mom and my wife who don't necessarily understand what's happening or what has happened. This way, they're provided with the questions that they don't know to ask, and they're given a couple of pieces to the puzzle that show, well, maybe there is reason to question this. Maybe there is something behind this. Maybe there is a motive by these criminals, and we know they're criminals. I mean, anybody that has a brain at all knows that these people in Washington, D.C. do not represent us, period. They don't. They only represent themselves and the big corporations and the banking cabal, period. That's who they represent. So that's the reason that I wrote that article and the way that I wrote it.
Sure, I understand. But I mean, for me, it came across like the motive was for grabbing guns.
Well, that's a big part of it. I mean, if you listen to what Obama said, I mean, he came out and he started blaming guns immediately.
No, I understand, but I mean, really, what it is yeah, that's part of it. It's
part
about,
of it.
Grabbing guns is about part of grabbing our rights.
Exactly.
And
all of them.
The motive for grabbing our rights is the system's collapsing. It's no coincidence that this occurred on the eve of what's probably going to be the British population voting to get out of the EU, which will be huge for gold. Huge. But now they can point at the price, the pop in the price of gold today and say, oh, see, it happened because this was an ISIS terror event. No, it was not an ISIS terror event. The gold is up because of the Brexit. The risk of Brexit went up significantly.
Yes. Yeah, apparently they picked up, the spread grew over the weekend by very significant percentage points, like 19% in the last 2 or 3 days.
Here's my thing about this. It's funny because the first second I heard about this thing, I guess it was early yesterday morning or something, and I turned on the news and it was like they're immediately branding it an act of terror. One of the Florida officials immediately branded this domestic terrorism without even knowing who was involved, what the motive is, etc. And once that word was thrown out there, all of a sudden that became what it was. It wasn't just a simple mass killing at a gay nightclub, like a crime of passion or something.
Right.
Who knows what this guy's real background is? And then right after that, immediately ISIS comes out and takes credit. Well, how come ISIS seems to take credit for every time someone gets shot in this country? And what's lost in the whole thing is the fact that the United States military and the deep state is the entity that created ISIS in the first place.
Yep. Well documented at this point.
That's right. It is documented. And I mean, to me, there's no coincidence that there's a potential major political and economic event that's going to occur in Europe in the form of England potentially being, the people in England voting to pull England out of the EU, that will have a major effect on the financial markets, especially the price of gold.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, this terror event occurs in the United States.
Well, like you said, it's a distraction, and the implications of a Brexit are so far-reaching that it's hard to even begin to imagine what it's going to do. I mean, we already know that Greece wanted out, and they backed out last year. We know that the French Nationalist Party, headed by Marine Le Pen, they are gathering steam. They want out as well. So, I mean, you start getting these countries, and this is to say nothing of the issues that Germany's experiencing with the immigration and the national movement that's going on there, and wanting to oust Angela Merkel. I mean, these are massive economies that are wanting out of the Bilderberg implemented idea of the European Union, period.
The Brexit mindset is starting to spread a little bit into Europe. And I do recall seeing that there's movements in France for that to happen. Of course, I don't know why France would want to do it, because they're being supported by, wealth transfer from Northern Europe to Southern Europe. But, it's just, to me, there's just no coincidence here between this event and the economic and political collapse that's going on in the West. And it's about brainwashing the masses in this country to be afraid of terrorism. And it's about putting the mechanisms in place to grab all of our rights and to impose gun control. Because when this thing collapses, there's going to be such an incredible backlash. They're going to have to be able to put in some sort of de facto military police force and military political control of the population.
Well, as Hank Paulson said back in 2008, there'll be martial law and tanks in the street. It's exactly what he said. So, and I believe
there you go. I find it funny because no one even thought to explore the angle of, well, this was a gay nightclub in Orlando. What's the sexual orientation of this guy? They immediately connected him with ISIS.
Yes.
How come no one ever called Charles Manson a domestic terrorist? How come ISIS didn't take credit for that? Oh, I know why. Because ISIS wasn't invented by the United States deep state yet. How come no one called Charles Whitman, who was the University of Texas sniper? No one called that mass shooting and mass killing domestic terrorism. How come all of a sudden now someone gets shot by a bullet somewhere in public, and all of a sudden it's ISIS and it's terrorism?
Yep.
Doesn't anyone connect the dots here besides us?
Well, that's the whole point of asking these questions and presenting this information, is to, like I said, get these people that are on the edge that may not understand what's going on. Give them the information and allow them to ask the question of themselves. What is the motive behind this? Why am I continually spoon-fed this same nonsense over and over? Why is it always a lone wolf? Why is it always a single person that does it? And the question in Orlando is, why was someone holding the door shut so that people could not leave? That has been documented overnight. I mean, it is this whole situation just stinks to the high heavens. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And the tragedy is that there are more than 50 people that are dead. There are more than 50 people that have been injured. And all of these families are now impacted by what appears, from all indication, to be a false flag that, just like you said, Dave, is providing cover for the economic collapse that we are in the middle of. We're in the throes of this thing collapsing on us. It's so obvious at this point, to me anyway.
Well, and this is about brainwashing, and this is the United States government terrorizing the U.S. population about terror. Because you turn on, if you turn on Fox Business, the headline on, the flag banner on Fox Business all morning has been terror in Orlando. Same thing on Fox Business, and they keep showing pictures of this guy, so that you connect him with someone of Middle Eastern background. Well, when I look at a picture of him, he looks more like Roy Cohn with a suntan. And if anyone doesn't know who Roy Cohn was, go ahead and look it up. But he looks like someone who probably hangs out at a gay nightclub, and this could easily be a crime of passion connected to that. It's just absurd that all of a sudden they want to brainwash us into thinking it was ISIS. And of course, ISIS is going to come out and take credit anytime a stray bullet hits someone. Oh, that was us.
Yeah, how convenient.
And I just wanted to transition really quickly because the big market event is Microsoft's acquisition of LinkedIn, and I just wanted to rant for 2 seconds about that.
Go.
Interestingly, the S&P was down about 9 points when I woke up at 4 a.m. Denver time. And of course now, with no good news having hit the tape, the S&P is almost flat. They're probably going to take it green on the day. Gold is up nicely. Silver's up nicely. That's connected with the Brexit. Certainly not this false flag domestic terrorism. But the big news that hit the tape was Microsoft is paying an absolutely insane valuation to acquire LinkedIn. And there's absolutely no reason for them to acquire LinkedIn. And it's an example of how much that the stock market now is even more insane than it was at the peak of the tech and internet bubble in 2000. And if you look at the press release where they review the reasons why Microsoft is taking over LinkedIn, it all has to do with page views and mobile usage and new user accounts. There's nothing in there about revenues and profits. Why? Because LinkedIn does not generate any profits. Microsoft is paying $26 billion for a company that barely has any book value and has never generated a profit.
And probably never will.
No, I mean, it's nothing but a glorified networking board. There's no revenue events when you click around on LinkedIn to see who's on it.
I mean, I always looked at it as an electronic Rolodex. I mean, that's
right, exactly. I mean, how do they make revenues on that? I mean, when they give the billions of page view metrics that they put in the press release, quite a few of those views are mine, because when I talk to an investor relations person, it's usually at a junior gold mining company. It's usually a woman, so I want to look her up on LinkedIn to see if she's cute. And then like several other IR people at other juniors pop up, and they're all cute women. So of course I'm going to look on their page. That doesn't generate any revenues for LinkedIn.
No, I would think not.
No. For me, it's the business version of Facebook. I want to see what these babes look like.
Oh, my goodness. But that fits with the narrative of an economic collapse.
Yes.
I mean, if you've got, just all this QE money just sloshing around looking for somewhere to be, why not buy LinkedIn? Why not? Who cares? I mean, Microsoft is sitting on billions of dollars, obviously, that needs to have a home. So put it into LinkedIn.
That's right. It's just a way for Microsoft to add some tech sizzle to its stock, because its business model is a dinosaur. It's dying.
Well, and their product is not very good.
Product's terrible.
Yeah, they've just about ruined Windows, which was their mainstay, and Apple has developed a full-on frontal assault to Microsoft Office.
Well, so is Linux, and Linux is free.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, so you can get alternatives to Microsoft Office, which fully integrate into people that are with computers that are using Microsoft Office. So it's not, they don't have that proprietary aspect anymore. And like, well, Dave, what else have we got? I mean, I think we've gotten our rants off of our chest this morning.
Yeah, I think we got today covered. I think we got to save something for Thursday, especially since that'll be right after the FOMC circus.
Not only that, but we've got Brexit. We'll take another step towards that as well.
Good point.
So,
looking forward to seeing how that unfolds.
Yes, sir. Well, all right, Dave. We'll have a good afternoon, and we'll catch up on Thursday.
Thanks, you too. But I still want to enjoy my morning first. It's only 8:30 here.
Well, all righty then. Enjoy your morning.
Thank you. You too.